Perfect. Yes, I received the confirmation that everything is working, that you guys can hear me, so we can kick it off. So welcome to the webinar Buying a Home in Eindhoven. Today's session will be recorded and shared, so feel free not to take notes. You can focus on what I will be saying, or you can focus on cooking, whatever you're doing at the moment, and we will send you the presentation. And anything that you might be interested in, you can check later as well. Today, the host of this webinar is Diovana. She is in the background. Hi, Diovana.
I'm here. Hello. Hey. Hi, everyone. Matt, thank you so much for being here and doing the webinar for me. As you people can hear, my voice is a little bit, I'm a little bit sick. I have a cold. So I have asked my colleague Matt, he's a rock star as well. He can do the webinar very well, to present the webinar for me today because I can't talk much. But I will be in the background to answer your questions. So if you have questions during the webinar, you can pop up them on the chat or in the Q&A. I do live in Eindhoven. Matt, can you just click on the presentation for me? And then, yeah, I do live in Eindhoven for about, in the Netherlands for about 15 years and Eindhoven 12. So I will be your agent in the Eindhoven area if you'd like to work with us. I will be in the background today answering questions. So please feel free to pop them in the chat or in the Q&A. And we're going to send you this presentation, the recording, the recording and the presentation as well within a few days. And then you can always schedule an intake so we can dig a little bit deeply on your own situation and on the buying process on your own situation. Thanks, Matt. Ask me anything if you want. I will be here waiting for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dio, and thank you for joining. This is a proper commitment, as you guys can see. If you ever work with Diovana, you will never get disappointed. That's for sure. And so, thank you for joining. I will do my best to present the webinar as best as I can. I usually deal with Amsterdam market, and so I will be for sure able to answer your questions about all the NL regulations and general prices, and then Diovana can step in about anything around the southern market and Eindhoven and surroundings. We also have in the background in our office team, Amy, who might be answering some of your questions in Q&A section or chat. Feel free to, hi Amy. Feel free to drop questions anywhere you would like, either in the chat or in Q&A, and we'll try to answer them during the webinar, or later we'll have a Q&A session just to answer some outstanding questions. My name is Matt, and I'm Polish originally. I also went through the buying journey in Netherlands. So I know the process from both firsthand and also helping clients. So that's me. Let's go to from you got to know us. Now let's get to know you. I am going to start a quick poll. Perfect. So you should be seeing it right now. If you can just let us know how did you hear about us? What made you decide to buy? Just so we know who we are talking to. And then we can go farther. I see some people heard about us on Facebook, or a friend or a colleague. What made you decide to buy? I see most of the people rents are too high. Yes, we agree. Rents are too high, and there is a lot of regulations in the market created recently, which will cause them go even higher. And that's bad news for people who rent. Good news for people who buy. Let's see how market will be responding, but completely understand. The rents are too high. Yes, more answers. Some people heard about us from Instagram. Awesome. Okay, 10 more seconds just to be sure that everybody answered. Yes, awesome. Somebody just joined. Perfect. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you very much. Thanks for answering. Let me close this poll and let's go further. So what we'll be talking about today, the introduction, the market info, the market drivers. So this webinar is going to be packed with information about the market, about the prices, and the whole process. Savings, renting versus buying. So basically what you have to have in your bank account to be able to buy, plus renting versus buying, what is profitable in the longer term, just a basic calculation without investment advice, but just to show it to you how it works. 3 tips to win in the market, in the buying market, like how to actually get the property of your dreams, and the timeline. So how it works from the whole process perspective. Greatness is achieved in the agency of others. And this is our team, our buying team in the Netherlands. You can see Diovana here. She already introduced herself. I am here on the right. I actually speak English, Polish, and Italian. I don't claim myself, I see, in this presentation. But we have great specialists also, Ludo, Rick, Amy, and Lariesa, as you see, all over the Netherlands and from all over the world, speaking many languages, and everybody knowing exactly the journey that you went through, because at some point we did, most of us, we have 2 Dutches, but most of us did move to the Netherlands and went through the housing challenges ourselves. A brief introduction to EHN, Expat Housing Network. That's the company where we work. We tend to say that we are no traditional real estate agents. What do we mean by that? A couple of things. First, we tend to work, we do work on a very clear and transparent prices. You can find them on our website. So they're all the same for everybody. We also focus on working with expats. Of course, we do accept everybody, but we are expats. We are helping expats. So we are a bit particular in that real estate part. We do help with buying, renting, and letting. We are opening our selling department. You might hear about our selling practice in the future, but right now we're helping with buying, renting, and letting. We have quite high volume. Last year, I can tell you that we helped almost 900 clients. So yes, we are kind of big, and of course this is all the number coming from the whole Netherlands, but in Eindhoven we have our solid office and department. We charge a percentage of the appraisal value. That's kind of part of our transparency in prices. We know that some agencies charge a percentage of the price, the purchase price, but we know that we can also influence the purchase price. So we decided to choose a price, a value that we are not, we cannot influence, just so it's more transparent that we are really working for your best interest and for your satisfaction. That's why we chose the appraisal value. We know what it's like to settle in a new country. Definitely, exactly as I mentioned before, most of people in our company, we have now 25 or 26 people working. Everybody, not everybody, let's say 19 people out of this 25 moved to Netherlands at some point, and now they are specializing in the housing market. What is our added value? Just to close the topic of EHN. So selling agents take offers from EHN more seriously. Why do we mention that? Because of course you can put offers on houses by yourself, but we experience that when we put offers, and selling agents kind of accept them with a higher conversion rate, let's say, because they can assume that we did the due diligence about your finances, suggesting you're working with a mortgage advisor or your situation. So the offers are valid. We can sometimes book viewings when it's no longer possible. Yes, we do have a network of agencies, and they are able to fit us in sometimes here and there. We support by reviewing Dutch legal and property documents. Yes, that's part of our service, and an important one. As you can imagine, there is a lot of documentation in Dutch regarding properties. We help define market value through market data. I would say that's my favorite part of the service, and I think most valuable. We will talk about different prices, everything what you see on Fundan, the actual purchase price on that price that the appraiser put on a house. These are all different values of your house. And yeah, it might get confusing. It is complicated, but that's why you have us or a real estate agent to really help you navigate through those prices and to make sure that you are not overpaying for your house. If you are buying a house for 500K and you overpay by 1%, you will overpay by 5,000 euro, right? If you overpay by 10%, that's 50,000 euro that you lost just because of not enough due diligence. And trust me, it happens. We will inform you about rules and regulations. Yes, there is a lot of regulations changing all the time. There is many of those about rentals, not rentals. We'll advise you about technical inspection, appraisal, or go to mortgage advisor. So we will help you and hold your hand during the whole process. We make sure you don't make the same mistakes we made. So we are really practical in what we do. We know exactly what kind of mistakes people do when they try to buy homes by themselves. We know what mistakes we did when we relocated to different countries. So it's not only coming from the experience that we have with clients, those 900 clients last year, and almost the same each year before, but also from our practical experience. Where in the process are you? I believe that's another poll. Let me quickly check. This is the one. Yes. So if you can tell me where in the process are you, so we can tailor our webinar or our answers more to where you are in the process. If you can say if you're researching, viewing properties, made an offer, etc. See some people researching. Most of you haven't talked to an agent yet. So I understand this is your first contact with an agency, this webinar. So I will try to be as detailed as possible and as clear as possible. If there is anything what I say, what you don't understand, you would like me to repeat, just drop it in the chat. Use your Q&A section. There is Diovana and Amy there. They can answer questions. And the last question about mortgage broker. I see some of you talk to mortgage broker, but most of you haven't yet. Perfect. So the reason why we ask that last question is because talking to a mortgage advisor is equally important to talking to us. We are specialists in the process. We are on your side regarding everything from choosing the property to placing an offer to making sure that it's legal and that you're getting the best property possible. And mortgage advisor is helping you with getting your money from the bank. Right. So we definitely have a good range of mortgage advisor. Diovana has really good contacts also in Eindhoven. So in case you haven't talked to mortgage advisor, you don't know who to talk to, reach out to Diovana or ask here in the chat that you would like a contact. And Diovana is going to tell you who to reach out to, and they can simply review your situation. They also have free intakes when they are just going to check your salary, check your situation, and they will tell you, hey, you can buy a house for 432,000. And that's the golden number that you then come to us and we start putting offers and just trying to negotiate with sellers on the houses that you're going to find. Awesome, perfect. Thank you for filling the survey. I think most of you filled it out. All of you are researching, and some people are viewing, and almost nobody talked to an agent. Awesome, thank you very much. Let's go further then. some market info. So here we'll be sending a lot of information about the market. So you don't have to take notes. And like I said, it's going to be sent to you later. But everything is super updated. I think this is the information from last week, even that was released about Q3. These are the numbers from your market. Yes, so new builds in Q3 on average cost 474,000 euro. An average price of a house in Q3 in 2023 was 422,000. And in Q2 was 410. So as you see in Eindhoven, there was an increase in prices already. That's something what we are observing in the whole Netherlands, but I think in Eindhoven it was a more of an increase versus the whole country. So prices in Eindhoven tend to already raise. Which is a good sign. It looks like there was a solid correction in the last 3 quarters, and then from Q3 2022 to Q1 2023, and then the slight price increase. So yes, prices were let's say stagnating for a while, but now the market is recovering. So it doesn't seem like if you buy a property now the prices would drop and you would lose on that property. So the fair assumption is that at least it's going to keep in value, if not growing a lot. Let's see further. Eindhoven market figures. Houses sold 1,416, which is 1% more versus last year, which is 4% less versus last quarter. But houses for sale, there is 1,116 houses available, which is 8% less than last year and 6% less than last quarter. Average purchase price 452 plus 0.8% from last year, plus 3.4% from last quarter. Average price per square meters 3,679, which is an increase from last year, 0.6. So as you see, even after all these 3 quarters of a drop, right now we are having a year-on-year price increase on average square meter. From last quarter, it's 3.6%, so a solid increase. A very interesting number for you. Probably you don't know more or less how much it's going to take to sell a house, to be precise. It's 29 days, which is 26% longer. So it was around 24 days last year, and now it takes 29 days to sell a house, but it's already much shorter than last quarter. These are interesting numbers, definitely, to see how the market is moving. What are the market drivers now? What caused the prices to increase? So this is more of a long-term overview. There was a huge spike of price increase in the last years. So what caused that increase? Fiscal benefits. Yes, there was a lot of fiscal benefits towards buying houses. So tax exemption means that if you are under 35 years old and you're buying a property under a certain value, you will not be paying a transfer tax. Transfer tax for everybody usually is 2%. That's for residential property. But if you're under 35 and you're buying under certain value, it's going to be free. So you're not going to get taxed on buying that property. I believe that in 2024, that value is going to be around 500K. Giovanna, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that value is going to be significant. So a lot of people will not be buying and not be paying taxes on residential property under 500K if they're 35 years old.
510.
510. Here we go. Yes.
Perfect. From 1st of January 2024. Yes.
Perfect. Thanks. Interest rebate. You're also all the interest that you're paying on your mortgage, you can deduct from from your income tax, which it depends, of course, on your income, on your tax statement, but it is a significant saving on the yearly basis from taxes. No capital gains. That's a standard thing in Netherlands, which is not that standard around the world. So usually in many countries, you do pay tax in case you sell your property for more money that you bought it. In Netherlands, it's not the case. Netherlands, you can buy a property for 100K, sell it for 1 million euro. Couple of years later, okay, maybe 20 years later, and you're not going to pay a tax on that, at least at this moment. There are some plans introducing it, but right now, all the properties that you buy now will not be taxed in capital gains. Tax-free parent donation. So yes, right now it's ending, but there was a big sum of money in the Netherlands that parents can donate to their children to kind of use for buying a property, and it was very broadly used. An interesting FYI, if your parents live abroad, most likely, so usually you do not pay any tax in the Netherlands. Of course, they have to inform themselves if they should pay some gift tax in the country of their origin, but many countries, they don't charge anything. So if you do have parents living abroad, very often you will not pay tax, but to be specific, you have to, of course, talk to a tax advisor. Low interest rates. Yes, for many years we had very low interest rates, which bumped the prices crazy high. And even if after COVID, since more or less since the war started, the interest rates did raise. As you've seen, we had a small decrease in prices, but it wasn't that significant. High rents, exactly as you answered in the first poll, the rents are convincing people to buy, which is creating crazy high demand in the market of buying. And then, of course, prices of buying properties also are raising high. But if you prefer to buy or rent, that's a different discussion. And we are also going to present some numbers. Lack of supply, that's an interesting one. That's something what government is trying to address all the time. So even if we are planning to build like 1 million properties from 2020 to 2030, there is still very maybe not very little properties in the market, but lacking properties in the Dutch market. We are having last year to the Netherlands, there was over 1 million people relocating. There were also some people leaving, but the Dutch population is growing. By 2030, we're expecting to have 18 million people living in the country, so 1 million people more, and we are not catching up with building houses. So lack of supply and increasing demand and governmental encouragement, fiscal benefits creates buying houses more profitable, simply, right? So all that causes in the long term prices to increase. The current market. The current market, as I mentioned before, we did have increase of interest rates. They are still historically low. So right now, yeah, I don't want to lie to you, but I think the 10-year interest rate should be around 4.2%. That's something what your mortgage advisor, based on your personal situation, will tell you. But it is still very low interest rate, especially if you do your calculations with the rate. But mortgage advisor can help you with that. 80% more active listings. Less overbidding. Right now, we actually started seeing a bit more overbidding in that last quarter when we saw prices also.
Matt, if I may, I just want to point it out. You were talking about the interest rate. I had a client last week that he bought a property with NEHD, National Mortgage Guarantee, which Matt will talk in a few minutes about it. And the interest rates were 3.89, just so you know. So it's since you're going to talk about NEHD, I think it's nice to tell people that with NEHD you might be able to get even lower interest rates. So I think it's nice when you explain that.
Perfect. Yes, yes, we are coming to NIG. The property that I bought was on 379 3 weeks ago. So yes, so the interest rate can get lower, but it was mostly because of the low loan to value. So if there is like a bigger down payment, you can also lower your interest rate. But that's something what the mortgage advisor for sure will help with. Still a lack of supply, so the same as long term, the current market, we are experiencing that lack of supply. As I mentioned, people are running away from the rental market a lot, and the material cost changed a lot recently, mostly also due to the transportation issues or transportation costs, but also production costs. Yes, and here we have self-occupancy obligation, NAG, and a limit of transfer tax. So starting from self-occupancy obligation, you will be able to click on those links once we send you the presentation, so you can explore the topic a bit more by yourself. Diovana, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the limit here is mentioned 355,000 in Eindhoven, which means that if you are buying a property under that value, then you are obliged to live in the property by yourself. I know that those values are much higher for different cities in the Netherlands. For Amsterdam, is reaching 500K or even more right now. And which is kind of a constraint for the buyer. So if you are buying a property and you're planning maybe to move abroad in 1 year from now, and you're thinking that, oh, I'm going to just put it on the rental market, then contact Diovana and do proper research where and for how much you should be buying a property, just to be sure that you're not falling under that self-occupation obligation, which might be limiting your flexibility in the next, let's say, 4 years, because every self-occupancy obligation is set for a specific period of time. NAG to increase, that's something what Diovana mentioned. NAG is sort of a formula created by Dutch government and banks, which is kind of a protection of the mortgages under a certain value. So that's something what you can apply for if you are buying a property under this value. And if you are buying a property under this value and you apply for it, there is a small fee to pay for it. It's going to be presented in a second in a fee overview. Then your mortgage is sort of protected to a certain extent. For example, if your property drops in value and you have to sell it for some emergency reasons, then NAG is going to cover the difference between the outstanding mortgage and the property value at the moment. So it's kind of an extra security. And because of that extra security, banks, even if you pay some initial sum in the beginning, they give you lower interest rate because they have less risk. So then you are not, you're better off in a longer period of time. But that's also something what mortgage advisor can advise you on. Limit transfer tax, 440K, that's the one that we mentioned before. If you're under 35 years old and right now you're buying a property under 440 or 510 2024, you will not pay any transfer tax. And an important asterisk is that if you are buying a property to rent out or not to live there, you are going to pay investors transfer tax, which is 10.4 right now, and not 0 or 2, 10.4% of the purchase price. That's kind of significant. Perfect. What would you need in savings before you start? That's an important question. We tend to hear this a lot. Everybody wants to know how much cash do I need to have to buy a house? So here you have an overview. This starting from the top, transfer tax on average, most of the people need 2% of the purchase price, which is 0% in those cases that I mentioned before, or 10.4 if you're buying for an investment. But let's assume 2% for this calculation. It is not tax deductible, so you cannot deduct it from your income tax at the end of the year. Then for the notary, you pay around 2,000, not sure exactly how it's in Eindhoven, but from here I see 1,400 to 2,600. Half of it is tax deductible, so the mortgage deed related costs are tax deductible. The transfer deed are not tax deductible. Then the mortgage broker, so your mortgage advisor, it depends on the company. It's going to be between 1,500 and 3,400. As I mentioned before, Diovana has some really good contacts, very reliable mortgage advisors. So please feel free to reach out to her. And this cost is also tax deductible. Our cost, I'm going to present it in a second, but our cost is 0.75% to 1% of the appraisal value. So we have two different packages. One is accompanied, one is unaccompanied. I'm going to mention it in a second. It's also not tax deductible. Then you have appraiser. The appraiser is needed only if you're taking a mortgage. If you're buying cash, you don't need appraiser, but that's simply a third party who's going to come to your property, who is authorized by the government to officially appraise your property and is going to say, hey, this is the value of the property. And that's usually the moment when we evaluate if we put a good offer or not. Most likely it's the same value as we put. That's always good news. But that third party also costs, which is between 700, 900, and is also tax deductible. Then another third party, which is not obligatory, but a lot of people take it, especially when buying an old property, is a technical inspector, 465 euro, non-tax deductible. That person is going to be evaluating the technical state of your property. Then interpreter, in case you don't speak native Dutch or very well understood Dutch, the notary is going to be checking that you have to hire an interpreter for the notary. That's 290 euro. And then bank guarantee, that's the 10% that you have to pay as a safe deposit before the purchase to the notary. In case you don't have 10% of the purchase price, you can ask the bank to pay it for you, and then it costs you 250 euro or 1% of the amount. NAG, that's for the application of NAG, you usually pay 0.6% of the mortgage amount. And then, as I mentioned before, you have lower interest rate on monthly basis. So later it gets kind of paid off. On average, we say that it takes between 3 to 5% of the purchase price. That's like a rule of a thumb to have in savings to buy a property. Let's go further. Renting versus buying. So that's kind of a next category of topics. If you have any questions about the prices and the costs, feel free to drop in the chat or in Q&A. Regarding rental versus buying, an interesting example, take a look at the property on the right side. That's a property for 400K, 98 square meters with some small land. It's asking price is 400,000. Let's assume that we are offering 405. You're putting you're buying that property with only mortgage. You're not paying anything by yourself to the property. And then let's say you're getting an interest rate 4.15 with NAG. Right now, Diovana mentioned that it was kind of a bit lower, so you could be having even lower gross monthly payment. But in this example, the gross monthly payment is 1,969. So your monthly payment is going to be this, 1,969. Out of this, 1,500 is going to be interest in the first years because you have kind of high debt and high interest rate. So some of those gross monthly payment will be going towards your equity of the house. Some of that will be interest. To this property, we are putting another one, the one on the left. that is very similar. It's kind of in a similar location, 105 meters and 1,500 monthly rent. And so to show you when you are breaking even when buying a house, we created a list of fees that you will be having when buying that property on the right side. So assuming that your transfer tax is 0, so you're under 35, you're paying notary 2,000, mortgage advisor 2.5, us, you're paying 4,050, appraiser 700, technical inspection 465, bank guarantee, energy, your total would be 12,395 euro. So this is the money that you should be having in your bank account and pay to have that property. Break even is 22 months, which is a bit less than 2 years, which means that if you are living there 2 years, it's already cheaper for you to own that property, assuming that the property didn't change in value, right? So yeah, break even is 22 months. After 5 years, the calculation becomes even more interesting because the property that you rent, the total of my monthly payment over 5 years, 5 times 12 times 1,500 is 90,000 euro. Yes, you're paying 90,000 euro to a landlord. You are having 0 equity. You don't own that property. The property that you bought, your total of monthly payments, your mortgage payments is going to be 91,429 euro, which is similar, which is the same. But out of that, you are going to have equity in the house. So that part of the mortgage that was not to the bank, but was paying off your house is going to be 37,156 euro. So under the assumption that the house did not change in value, you're going to sell that house, you will have 37,156 euro in your bank account after 5 years. Of course, if the price did change in value, and we know historically that prices tend to grow, you're going to have proportionally more, proportionally to the purchase price, not even proportionally to the equity, which can be significantly more. 3 tips to win in the current market. Value. Our best tips is to really look at the value. And like I said before, there are a couple of different values which I'm going to explain to you right now. Asking price. What is an asking price? Is, you probably already know, is the price that you see on Funda. Funda is our go-to platform where we look for properties. And when you look for properties and you see the price, that's the price that they ask for that property to buy it. For. So, for example, this property has an asking price of 395,000. And there are different values, and I'm going to be comparing to this asking price. Let me see. So let's assume that the asking price, we know that the asking price of that property was 395,000. The market value is a different value. Market value is what is your property actually worth. That price does not have to be similar or even close to the asking price. It completely depends on the strategy of the agent to put the asking price much lower or close to the market value. So that those prices, they do not have to correlate. So when you hear from your friend that somebody bought a house without overbidding, they usually say, we didn't overbid on the asking price. But it might have been that the agent already put the asking price quite high, and they just paid the asking price. But maybe the market value was even lower than the asking price. In this particular example, the market value is 415,000. That market value is unknown to you, is unknown to us as well. We can do a proper market research to try to discover that market value, advise you on bidding on that market value or overbidding over that market value, very often the purchase price is higher than the market value because of the demand on the properties. In this case, the purchase price was 435,000. So the actual overbid, what we call an overbid, was overbid of 20,000, which is 4.8% value versus the purchase value. At the same time, the purchase price was much higher than the asking price, was 40,000 euros. So there was a 10% overbid over the asking price. Let's see another example. In this example, it is the same house. The market value of this house is also 415, right? But if I remember well, the asking price was 395 and here is 375. So the agent who's selling this house took a bit more aggressive pricing strategy, I would say, and put the price lower. Why? Because they want more people to be interested, more people to come, more people to fall in love with the house, and then with their emotions pumping to actually offer even more and start negotiating versus each other. So many people came to the property that is put for 375, and you were one of the buyers, you were one of people bidding. We advise you on the market value, and the purchase price was 435, the same. In this example, look that the difference between asking price and the purchase price was 60,000, which was 16%, right? Even more than in the previous example. In reality, the actual overbid was exactly the same, was 20,000 over the market value, was 4.8%, but regarding the asking price, it's more. So my advice based on these two examples, do not look at these prices that are put on Foodnut too much. They are a good indication, very high level, but do not fix your thinking on, okay, I have to give 20,000 more, or I have to give 20% more. It really depends on the strategy that the agent is setting when choosing the asking price. This property, 450,000 asking price. A bit different example, we are having a property with an asking price of 450,000. We are buying it for 450,000, but then at the same time, the property is worth less. So here, agent had a bit different strategy. They overpriced the house. And imagine you buy this house for 450, you overpay 25,000 euro just because the proper market research wasn't done. Or was done and you wanted to overbid 5.5%. So even if it seems I didn't overbid, yes, you did overbid. You did overbid 5.5% in this example. Perfect. And in this example, asking price 450,000. Purchase price was 425,000, market value was 425,000, which means that the purchase price matched the market value, which means that you bought exactly at the value of the market. But because the bid suggested to you was under the asking price, so it is also possible to underbid, and in this case the strategy of the agent was also aggressive, was to put the asking price higher than the market value, and you managed to get the house for 425, which was without overbidding. A winning offer. So what does make a winning offer? What does a winning offer has? First of all, offer a good price, not always the highest price. First, offer a good price. Obviously, 80% of the best offers are going to be the highest offers, which means that we always have to aim to give more than other bidders. That's an obvious one. But why we say that not always the highest price? Sometimes what I mentioned before, agents, they look at your capacity to pay for that offer. It gets complicated when an appraiser comes to your house and they appraise the house for less than the offer, which means that the bank will give you maximum the value of the house that was appraised. So let's say you put an offer for 500,000, but the appraiser appraises it for 480. Banks will give you maximum 480. So then you need 20,000 euro from your pocket to actually buy that house. And agents sometimes know it, that maybe the appraisal value will be a bit lower. So they prefer then to choose somebody who has enough own funds to buy that property in the first place. So not always the highest offer will win. It really matters what kind of financial condition, how long financial conditions, when you want to receive keys for that house. So all those things matter. And even the personal touch. So that's the last point. Very often we are having sellers living in the property for many, many years. If you describe your situation, put a photo on the offer, even if a better offer is for 2,000, 3,000 euros, sometimes they are going to really choose a person who they feel secure living in the property. Offer security to the seller and the least amount of hassle. That's the ones that I mentioned before. Due diligence. That's I think I already mentioned it slightly. Technical inspector and appraiser does the third parties that we help you book. Of course, we are going to send you an offer, suggestions of people who we usually work with, but these are the third parties that can support you with, like I said, evaluating the technical state of your property or a value of your property for the mortgage. Cool question. How do you think? When do you book them? When do we send a request to the technical inspector or the appraiser? Before or after your offer is accepted in the process? I'll give you a second to think. So it is after the offer gets accepted. We often have people thinking that they should book appraiser and technical inspector before. No, it's not necessary. Once your offer gets accepted, it usually takes 1 to 1.5 weeks to sign the purchase contract. Purchase contract is your binding contract to buy a house, with an exception of the first 3 days, because in the first 3 days you can say, no, you know what, I'm canceling that contract, and you have absolutely no fines or anything like that to pay. So it usually takes 1.5, even up to 2 weeks from the offer accepted to the moment when you are liable to any kind of money to pay to the seller. So in this period, somewhere right after the offer is accepted, we are booking the technical inspector and the appraiser. The timeline. So how it usually works, the process. First, we start the search. We review properties on Funda. You send us the properties that you like. We book viewings, etc. Then we place an offer. We do that due diligence with prices, etc. We place an offer. Our offer is accepted. After all the offer is accepted, there is an appraiser and technical inspection booked. They come as soon as possible, ideally before the purchase contract or within that 3-day cooling off period. We sign the purchase contract. Then 3 days later, we have the cooling off period, and somewhere in the meantime, you also start the mortgage application, just making sure that you have enough time to get the approval from the bank. Then usually it really depends on the bank. There are some banks that take even 7-8 weeks. There are some banks that are very fast, even a couple of days. Your mortgage application gets approved. It also depends how good is your mortgage advisor. That's why you should work with Diovana also to get some recommendations. Statement of completion, that's something what is sent by the notary before the final deed, with all the costs and all the description of services. And then the last thing is the inspection of the property. With the final inspection, there is a transfer deed and the key handover. 2 months after, so 2 months after you get the keys, you still have a so-called liability period, liability term, when you are testing the property. So you can check and use all the facilities of the property just to be sure that everything works. Because if something doesn't, that's still a moment to call out to the seller that maybe you were not informed about something. Then, as I mentioned before, we have a couple of packages. So this is how we can support you during that whole process. First one is the Smart package. You get an intake personal buying manager. We review properties for you. We offer, we submit offers. We review contracts, we book third parties, pre-transfer support, and many more, actually. Everything around the whole process. And then in the complete package, you have a couple of extra things that we attend. So we attend the third parties, which means we go to viewings with you. We go to the inspection, the technical inspection, the notary, and we support you with the transfer. The new build package is with a flat fee of €3,450, including VAT, because it's a bit differently structured. So if you're buying a new build, you can also reach out to us about that. But the prices for the Smart package and complete package are 0.75% of the value of your house, of the appraisal value, or 1% of the appraisal value, including VAT. We also charge deposits in the beginning for those packages, and deposits are also deducted later at the end of the final price. So yes, in case you liked what we presented to you, or you would like to discuss your personal situation, you can book an intake directly with somebody from our team. Most likely it's going to be Diovana. Again, no strings attached. The intakes, the first conversation is fully free, and we're ready to help you kickstart your home ownership journey. I see Diovana joining.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah,
Perfect.
time for questions. Yes. For the ones that joined the webinar a little bit later, first of all, thank you so much, Matt. It was a really good webinar. Thank you for presenting on my behalf. I really appreciate it. For the ones who joined the webinar a little bit later, I will be the one presenting the webinar today, but I'm a little bit sick, so Matt is doing for me. But I'm here to answer all your questions. I do live in Eindhoven, so yeah, I would be your agent in this case. We have no questions whatsoever in the chat, so I guess your webinar was way too good that people already understood everything. There was a few questions, but I answered them. So if anyone else has questions, you can put them in the chat or in the Q&A. We still have a few minutes that we can answer those questions. Feel free to do so. I do want to explain one thing about the self-occupancy law. It is in Eindhoven is a value of €355,000. The law was stated last year, 1st of April 2022, which means that if you buy a house with a WOZ value below 355, you are not allowed to rent out the property for the next few years. You have to live in the property by yourself for the next 5 years. So, but WOZ value is not the value of the property. There's nothing to do with funda or market value or buying or selling. It's just the value given by the municipality to charge you taxes. So it's not the value that you buy in the house, it's the WOZ value. Be aware of that, yeah? I see some questions coming up, Matt. Between apartment and house, what is better to buy in Eindhoven? If that's okay with you, Matt, may I take that one? Can I answer that one? Yeah.
Definitely, that's yours.
Yeah. So first of all, it's a very personal question. It's really about what you want. But in Eindhoven, if you are thinking about buying to let, if you want to rent it out, an apartment, yeah, a lot of people in Eindhoven are single or it's just a couple, for example, or just partners. There are also a lot of families, but the most of them are single or couple. So then you rent it out a little bit easier in apartment, but you would rent it out a house anyway as well. It might take a few more days in an apartment. So what is better to buy? Well, comparing to the price, apartments are normally a little bit cheaper than a house, but depends on the location. An apartment can be more expensive than a house. So it really depends. It really depends what fits your budget. What you have to understand is when you buy an apartment, you always have to pay VVA. VVA is the owner association. It's a monthly payment that you have to pay. So think about this. Let's say you are paying €1,000 as a mortgage every month. You're going to pay more, let's say 150 every month from the owner association. They are the association that takes care of the building. Home insurance is also included in this price, but you have to pay that monthly forever as long as your apartment is in your name. So be aware of that. And 90% of the house, you don't have an owner association. The maintenance of the house, it's your own responsibility, not the association. So you don't pay a monthly fee for that. Yeah. Are all properties listed on Funda, or there are some more places with properties up? I would take that one as well, Matt. Sorry about that. So most of the property, 99% of them are on Funda. The ones that are not on Funda, they would be on the website of the real estate agents for about 2 or 3 days before Funda, or on their own Facebook page, social media, whatever. And then after a few days, they will be on Funda. In Eindhoven, I have a list myself of the agents that do add their properties before on their own social media. So if you're going to get this presentation, you're going to see my email address. If you send me an email, I can send you my list, and then you can apply on their own social media so you can see the house a few days before. It doesn't mean you're going to see the house, you're going to visit the house before everyone else. It means that your chance of getting an appointment are higher. That's it. There's no, that doesn't make any difference between sending an offer or anything. It's just that you have more chances of getting an appointment. But when you receive the presentation, you can always send me an email. I can send that list to you. I have it as well. Are all properties listed on Funda, or the one I just answered? Could you please advise on the difference with the process and or the terms with buying a new house, not here ready and still on planning construction and already existing readable, livable house? So as I understood the questions, do you want to know the difference of the two process? So when you buy a house that is already there, that already exists, let's say you get the offer accepted today, you get the keys in February next year, for example, it means that we start to pay the mortgage by next year. You pay the transfer taxes depending on your on the value of the property and on your age as well, but you only start to pay the mortgage after you get the keys of the property. With existing buildings, there is no bidding for the property. You go to the website of the company that is selling the property, construction company. We do that for you, of course. You go through the whole process. And then by the moment you sign the agreement with them, you already start to pay a percentage of what they are building at the moment. For example, if they already, of course, they already have the land. So they have the land, you pay a percentage of the land. There's 150 apartments and they'll have the land. So everyone is going to pay a percentage of the land. And then next month they will do the foundation. So you're going to pay foundation and the land. So every month you're going to pay a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And to the end, you are paying your full mortgage, which means that you will pay rent and mortgage together until the apartment is ready. Another thing is that most of them won't come with a kitchen, floor, bathroom, or toilet. So you're going to have the extra money to put a new kitchen, to put a bathroom, to put a toilet, and some of them they will offer you, and then you pay a difference. But they will offer you. The good thing is about new builds, it can always add to the mortgage when you are putting a new kitchen, a new floor, a new bathroom, and a new toilet. But keep in mind that if the property is for sale for 400, counted more 60, 70,000 euros for kitchen, bathroom, toilet, and floors, for example. So just for you to understand, they will come with the windows, of course, with the whole structure, and not the lights, but all the wires. They won't be plastering the walls. So those kind of things you're gonna have to do yourself, but you can add those to the mortgage. But that's how we more or less calculate. And some of them will have sometimes the bathroom included, sometimes the toilet, but no more than that. Just to understand. In the price that they put it on Funda. So you really have to go deep and see all the profits for each new build that is in the market. And there is a period of time, right? So it might be that you have to wait for I don't know, a year and a half. Nowadays, people are waiting for 2 years at least to be able to move into a new build because it's taken the cost of building a property are very, very high at the moment. They don't have enough materials sometimes, and they don't have enough people to finish the new builds as well. So we have to look at each property and find that is a new build to see what they say. Yeah. I think. Oh, there is one question on the Q&A. Let me see. I know you're not a mortgage expert, but based on your experience, does buy and let have a different mortgage criteria interest? Yes. So if you buy to let, you can only have a mortgage of 70%. You can't finance 100% if you buy to let. On buying to live, you can finance 100%. Buy to let only 70%. And on buy to let, there is no exception on transfer tax as well. You have to pay 10.4% of the purchase price to the government. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter anything. There is no exception, and you can only finance 70%. And then you still have to pay attention at the self-occupancy law. Remember, Eindhoven area, 355,000 euros is the max value for the WOZ. Above that, you're allowed to rent it out. Below that, you're not allowed to rent it out. So you can't have a mortgage of buy-to-let because, well, you could, but you won't be able to rent it out without the permission from the city hall, and the city hall won't give you permission because of this new law. Yeah. I'm sorry, I am a little bit sick. Let me see. I think that was it. Is there any more questions? It was clear to everyone. Again, you can always send me an email if you. It's a lot of information. Matt gave you a lot, so which is very good, but it can get confused. So if you have some questions within a few days or something, if you receive this presentation, you receive my email, please just let me know. There's one more question coming up from Hannah. I hope I say your name correctly. I'm sorry if I didn't. Could you please explain in simple terms what exactly is the bouw depot? So the bouw depot is if let's say you're buying a house and you want to renovate the property. You're welcome. If you want to renovate the property and you don't have the money, I did that for the house I live today, and then so you can get a bouw depot from the bank if the renovations that you're going to do increase the value of the property. It have to be big renovations though. It cannot be like just painting walls. I don't know, close some holes here and there. It has to be like a big new kitchen, not a big new kitchen, but a new kitchen, new toilet, new bathroom, floor heating, solar panels. I don't know, big things that it really increase the value of the property. The basis of that, the appraisal will calculate how much. Let's say the property costs 400, and you want to put 150,000 euros on renovation. So you have to show the bank where you're going to do renovation. The appraiser will calculate what the value of the property will be after the renovation, and based on that, the bank will give the bouw depot to you or not. And then it's quite simple. If they give you the money, you just have to have the invoice, and they will open a side bank account together with yours, and then you just upload your invoices, and they will be paid. The money you don't use, they'll go back to the bank. But basically, that's how it works. But it all depends on your mortgage conditions. This is really a big explanation. Huh? Every single house and every single case and every single mortgage is different. So be aware of that. And as Matt said before, a lot of people didn't talk to a mortgage advisor yet. If you don't know anyone, I bought 2 houses. Matt bought his house, so we have experience. We have a very big network of mortgage advisors that we work with. They're very good, very nice people. So if you don't know anyone, please let me know as well. Send me an email. I can send you a few names. Feel free to chat with them and get more information on your mortgage. Yeah. Okay. For now, we have more. Oh no, we passed the timing. But does anyone have more questions for us? I don't think
Thank you,
so.
Diva. I think we reached the end. We managed to answer everything. So
Yes,
thank you for joining and the
of
questions and
course.
for supporting with the webinar. Thank you guys for joining. Like Giovanna said, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us, book a call with Giovanna, and we'll for sure be able to support you.
Yes, I'm here in Eindhoven. So if you have any questions, if you want the names of the agencies, if you want the mortgage advisor, just let me know. I'll send it to you with pleasure. And you can always schedule an intake. It's free and we can go over your preference and see how can we help you. Thank you again, Matt, for being here and for doing that for me. I really appreciate it. Have a very nice evening, everyone. And I hope to actually see you soon.